Today I'm going to show you how to install Tomato firmware and what version to use. First, we got to know what type of router we have. Generally, you could be on the safe side if you buy a brand new router by using the K26 and R2 for the CPU. Pretty much all routers are going to be used by that now, but some of the older equipment that you may have laying around that you could put Tomato on, there's various lists that you can find on the internet. This one from Teddy Bear, the tomatousb.org website would be probably your best bet to figuring that stuff out. Second, we have to go and decide which variant of Tomato firmware to install. As of right now, the best development build is probably the Shibby build. Toastman would be probably second, but Toastman seems to be a little behind on development. But I'm sure other developers will come across this firmware and build their own variants. And really, it depends on what you exactly want, but Shibby pretty much has everything in there. Just to go over what exactly the difference between the mini VPN, basically it comes down to what additional features you have. K26 will have obviously every feature you can get possible. K24, since this is an older Linux build, you're going to have limited support on certain things. But for example, on the K26 you have on the far right on this image, which I will provide links for these images and additional documentation on the description. But on here for AIO is all-in-one. And with all-in-one, you have basically every type of feature possible on it. The only downside is that it has a very large flash RAM. So your router may not support that size of flash. But if you have like the, for example, the Asus RTN16, that will support all the firmware. It has, I think, a 32 meg flash RAM, so it will support this and then some. But going over the list, you just basically want to know what your router supports and how what version to install. To install it on, for example, an Asus router, which is generally the easiest out of them all. Sometimes you have to do a TFTP push to it and various other ways. Asus has a really nice utility. You just basically hold that button in and plug it in for the power. And while it's cycling on with power and you hold that button in, the restore button in the front, or the power button, will actually cycle. It will actually flash for a few seconds and then cycle off and then flash for a few seconds again. That basically means it's in restore mode. It has its little own boot utility that you could push files into it through this Asus firmware restoration utility. You want to also set it as a static IP, a 192.168.1 address, and that will allow it to basically communicate to the router directly. And you also want to plug it into the WAN port 1. That is basically it.